Trust Your Struggle is a place of inspiration. We have these conversations with individuals about the monumental struggles that they've had in their life, what they've done to overcome them, how these struggles and what they've done have kind of helped define who they are today. Sign painter and extraordinary designer Timothy Brennan from Great Not Good shares his experience about heat strokes, going to jail, doing massive amounts of drugs, getting in fights, and of course bad breakups, all of which have been self-inflicted struggles. It wasn't until his close friends planned an intervention which was disguised as a ski trip to bring him to Phoenix for a new chance on life. What motivates Tim is the understanding that these moments will pass. You'll get through it and become stronger from it. Tim always strives for the best, exceeding expectations, and never settling for good. Oh yeah, and don't burn bridges, kids.
I'm Timothy Brennan. I am in Phoenix, Arizona. Have been here for, I think, 13 years. Moved here from Colorado in 2005. You can do the math on that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're not doing math on here.
Okay, good. So moved here in 2005 for a construction job, actually. And I moved here in the middle of the summer. There's a whole story of how I got here that we'll touch on. I think it actually kind of hits on some of that struggle bus ideas. So, but as far as why I'm here, that's why came down here for a construction job. And it was in the middle of the summer, so I got heat stroke 3 times that summer. It was pretty miserable, and that was actually what kind of lit the light up in my head that I didn't want to work construction for the rest of my life, especially in Arizona. And also, seeing my pops at 40 years old with aching back, like having to get back surgery, bad joints, all that stuff, because he worked construction all his life. That kind of, made me think too about longevity and being able to perform later.
Right, yeah, exactly. Not get arthritis right away. How old are you right now, Tim?
So that's the thing, is I'm 38 now. So I'm only 2 years younger than where my dad was when he started getting all the bodily injury pains.
Right.
So I think I got ahead of the curve a little bit. But then it kind of going back, I actually worked in a very similar, the industry that I work in now is actually closer to construction than it is like designing on a computer. And that being sign painting. So I guess
so for anyone who's anyone who's listening or watching right now, if they're not fully familiar with the art of sign painting, can you drop some knowledge on that?
Yeah. So sign painting is actually, if you want to break it down, is the first form of advertising. Back in the day, before there were ad agencies or computers or, high tech, large format printing, anything like that, people needed a way to advertise their businesses. So sign painters came around, and it was more of a trade. It wasn't considered a creative career. There were sign painters that would do production lettering. They would show up on job sites or do, A-frames for sidewalks, anything like that. And they would just do production lettering and lay it out on site. It's called scratch layouts. And they would just bring their brushes and paint and just, paint stuff up. Grocery store signs, when produce was on sale, whatever, and they didn't have a printer to go to advertise this stuff, they would call a sign painter up. And that's where you see, those big, bright, primary color grocery signs, all done on big butcher paper. That's where that kind of all originated, like in the bodegas and, like all the old school grocery stores.
Dude, I remember when I was growing up in Chicago, like seeing all the
sign painting on all of the old buildings back then. Now I guess they'd be considered ghost signs
Mhm.
because it's all faded away. But yeah, you'd see like huge like Montgomery Ward or like Sears or something, and it's just it takes over the whole side of the building on the brick. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool, and the
Yeah,
scale
man.
of it is massive.
Yeah, and it's a trip, man, because like these guys, I still like I'm going on 7 years now of the actually working as a sign painter. A few of those years were just getting started and doing it as a side hustle. But I'm still learning as I go what these guys were doing back in the day, and it is mind blowing. The scale of these things and this is pre-computer, pre-digital anything. You know what I mean? And it's pretty amazing, and it's also kind of reframed my view of a computer in the sense of using it as a tool and not so much a creative idea engine. You know what I mean? Like the ideas aren't in the computer; it's on paper and physical layouts, but the computer is just the tool to either put a mock-up together, sell it to the client, do the production stuff, get patterns made, all kinds of different things.
Right.
But yeah, so I wish I would have learned that when I was working in advertising. I think I knew it, but I just
You did, yeah, you did for sure. You were always like sketching and everything else. So I mean, that's where like all the ideas come from. But it's like I don't want to stay too much on the sign painting thing. I mean, we could probably get back to that later. But it's one of those industries that really, as far as the trade goes, hasn't evolved too much from where it started, right? Like that part or that aspect of sign painting is pretty cool. A lot of the tools, the techniques, and things like that that I would assume that you probably use today are a lot of the same things that were used back in the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess like the newest technology that has been introduced is like maybe a projector where people project on the wall and trace the stuff out. But yeah, well, and I guess the computer, but like those are really the most technologically advanced tools. But yeah,
I see a lot of that kind of stuff in San Diego.
Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty much all the same techniques and methods. I think there are some things as far as like aesthetics go or kind of creative direction where I am seeing a lot of new sign painters kind of incorporating modern takes and applications or executions to the traditional methods. And I think, that's kind of an area that I play in too, of understanding the old techniques, but kind of being able to throw a contemporary idea into it. Yeah. So
it's, I mean, you start out in construction, you went into doing design. Now you're kind of like back into that, but like, you want to jump in a little bit about you getting out of construction and how you found design?
Yeah, dude. So, okay. So it was actually, I went, because we both went to the Art Institute that was up on Dunlap, right? At different years. But in that complex, it shares a parking lot with I forget what it's even called.
DeVry.
Well, not DeVry. It was actually where you'd go to take your general contractor's license or test to get your general contractor license.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was working as a superintendent for a development company, like building custom homes and stuff. And it was coming up to a point, I was there for like 2 years, and they were willing to pay for me to get my contractor's license. And so I went, like I studied and I went and I took the test, and like I wasn't feeling like super great about it. Just, like I had said, like I hadn't found another thing to do other than work construction. And so I took the test and I walked out, and that building shared the same parking lot as the Art Institute of Phoenix. And when I walked out, I saw the sign in the sky, and then it was like, yeah, exactly. Like it was like a shining ray of light and like angels from heaven singing, And so I went over and I grabbed all the like application paperwork and stuff and filled it out over the next couple days, and then. And this is the thing, I just saw art in the title. I thought I was going to be a fucking like fine artist or something. Like, like I didn't actually know what like graphic design was.
Did you always do art before that though?
Yeah, I did do art, like, very random, funky, like, I guess like more graffiti stuff. Like I was real into like characters and spray paint and all that stuff. I used to take like on remodels, I would take old windows that we'd remove from the house and paint on those as a canvas. But yeah, like I just thought I was going to be like a fucking like fine artist, a professional like gallery artist. And they accepted me and I started going, and I'm like signing up for classes. It's all computer this and, like website design and CSS and like all this stuff. And that's where I was like, oh, I might be in the wrong thing here, but I'll give it a good college try, right? And so after a couple years, like that's where it kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're still being creative, we're still designing, but it's for functional, everyday items, like a fucking thing of toothpaste is designed, or like, oh, that's kind of cool to be able to do that. And when I realized that, I fucking was all in, drank all the Kool-Aid, fucking put vodka in it, made my own little punch, and just, and it was fun, man. Like 2008, I started freelancing. 2009, I graduated and went like head on into the ad world. Yeah, and it was good. Like it was fucking awesome. But I also started later in life. Like I didn't go to this college until I was 25. And I think that helped a lot because I had time to, get all the extracurricular activities out, all the partying, even though I kept partying. But like, at least at that point, I knew that I needed to actually fucking make a career out of something,
Right.
And then, yeah. And then like fast forward, I kind of went through, took all the rungs of the ladder, started as a junior designer, up to senior designer, associate CD, and then now creative director, self-appointed because I own my own company.
As you should, yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of, I went through all of the normal career path that you would, and somewhere along the way, I kind of just lost the, I guess that honeymoon period ended. And
after how many years?
I'm going to say probably like 9 or 10. So yeah, 2009. Yeah. So we'll call it 10 years. Or no, not even, because I've been doing this for, I don't,
right.
Let's say 9
Some math.
Yeah. Okay. And I think, looking back, a big part of that was that I got very lucky and I met a girl who's now my fiance, who her dad is actually a sign painter. And, just like within dating her for the first few months, she's like, you need to meet my dad. You guys are going to hit it off. You both love lettering, like do hand lettering and stuff. He's a sign painter. I'm like, get the fuck out. I just got lucky like 2 times in a row.
That's so crazy. Wow.
So when I met him, he actually started teaching me how to sign paint, and I would help him on jobs. His name's Kurt Schlafer. My fiance is Amber Schlafer. And he's been doing it for, I think, 40 plus years.
Signs by Kurt, right?
Yeah. Signs by Kurt. Yeah. So that's really, I started learning from him. And then I think that aha moment was, I realized I was getting more, was having more fun and getting more fulfillment from painting signs than I was working, the agency ad man life. And that's where Great Not Good company came from, is when I finally decided to quit the day job. I was just kind of working under my own name, and I was like, I need to like create a company, because I've done branding, and so like it was more of a I was like, I want to just brand my own company, right? Like that sounds
right,
fun.
Yeah.
And so for quite a while I was like going over names and couldn't really think anything that really like stuck with me. And one day I was thinking about like the old adage, like good not great, like, oh, like it's a good job but it's not the best job. It's kind of just someone's way to say like, yeah, it's fine, it is what it is. And so I kind of was like, what if we flip that around and call it great not good? Because a lot of my experience in the ad world was always trying to fight for the great ideas and the good concepts to get through, whether that be a client approval or internal meetings, whoever it may be. There's always somewhere along the way where that idea gets watered down, and then you're just like, well, fuck. And then also there's like a financial side to it, right? Like it often comes down to like, it's just like, what's the bottom line? You have X amount of money in your budget. This is the most amount of work you can do for that money. And it's often going to be not great work because you're limited, right? So from the business side, I get it, but like also that causes for a lot of mediocre work. So to sum that up, great not good is the idea that always strive for the best, always exceed client expectations, give them a great product, and never settle for like good, because
right,
yeah, because where's the fun in that? And I lose a lot of money because of it. I definitely work more than I should on projects, but like, I don't know, for me it's fun. And
your name's on it too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's something else I realized, like mine, like in any of the agencies, like my name's not on that door. So why work myself to death for someone else? And this sounds like really shitty, and I'm sorry, but like, yeah, like why put all your blood, sweat, and tears into something that someone else built? Like, what if we did it for ourselves, And that's kind of where I'm at. And it's hard, and it is working, but it's fucking hard every day but I'm smiling. So
right, yeah, it's a different kind of hustle, but as long as you have the reward, it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of feel like we're not, like, everything that's happened has not been a struggle yet. That we
No, exactly. So why don't we get into that then? I mean, this has been the whole great part. Let's get into the shitty.
Well, but like like I have been thinking a lot about it, and like I don't by any means want to like dumb it down, or like I just feel very fortunate. I have had a pretty great life, and I've experienced a lot of the same things that many of us have, like losing friends and loved ones, like been in jail, partied, done mass amounts of drugs, DUIs, like fights and brawls and bad breakups, and HIV scare, and like there's just all these things, but those are all self-inflicted struggles. That was me just being an idiot. And
yeah, of course.
But yeah, like,
but it's those struggles that shape you to kind of where you're at today and who you are today.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. And yeah, and that's like the other thing is, I think one of the I guess as far as the big struggle goes is really just like figuring out like the idea of, quitting this really, really great career that I had in advertising on the hopes that I could potentially make something out of sign painting. And it was more of an internal struggle. It wasn't like a physical or, an outside force that put it on me. It was more like just trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and making that decision from, that super steady paycheck and great, having great coworkers to see every day, and, being able to collaborate and, shoot the shit with people, like trading all that in for not knowing where the next project is coming from. And, like, how are you going to make ends meet? And there's just, a slew of other considerations. But that was, I don't know, that was definitely a struggle to figure that out of what the best decision was. I do think I made the right decision. And from there, then, every day is, not to sound dramatic, but it is a struggle. Like, you still have to figure all these things out as you move forward. But one thing
and
that
also, it's really quick. I was just like, for anyone who's, not familiar with your career or what you've done, like, you also were, when you were doing the advertising, side of things. I mean, it was like, Timothy Brennan, like, everyone, knew who Tim was, and Tim did badass work, and like, you were a staple in the advertising, like, industry. So even on top, it wasn't just like, oh, you were just somebody in the industry. It was like, no, dude, like, he was a staple person who, like, really created a lot, and I don't know, just really helped, like, pave the way for a lot of things too, like, in this industry here in Phoenix, right? So even stepping away from all of that you built up with your career with that is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and thank you, man. I appreciate you saying that. But yeah, that was that because I don't think there's anything in life that's like I put whatever I attempt to do, I'm going to do 110%, and for 10 years, I put my heart and soul into, every ad campaign that I worked on, and every agency that I was with. And that was I think that was probably the hardest part to let go, is knowing that all of these relationships, from a business standpoint, not from a friendship standpoint, but, from business, is like, that's, I'm kind of deciding, like, that's 9 years of work that I'm, we're going to let go. But that's not completely that hasn't been the case, because a lot of those relationships have actually come back full circle, and actually opened up a lot of opportunities for the sign painting business. So don't burn bridges, kids. That is exactly, a real thing.
Yeah, because now your places you used to work at are now hiring you to do that work.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's pretty great.
So you think that was kind of like within, if you're like reflecting back, you kind of think that might have been like kind of one of your biggest struggles, was making that decision to transition over into your own thing and kind of follow your passion with sign painting?
Yeah, I think that was one of them.
What about coming from Colorado to Phoenix?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked about that, because that, I think, would have been my other struggle. But I didn't.
Anytime you move, that's a monumental part in someone's life.
Right. And the thing is how I moved. So I didn't know I was struggling at the time. I had mentioned, definitely did a lot of drugs. And I was from Durango, and I hope there's a statute of limitations for this. But so in Durango, it's a small town, and my group of friends, we weren't the jocks, we weren't the cowboys. We were kind of like the skater, kid, partier, drug doers, and
Snowboarders.
yeah, and there was, I guess our circle, like we did not just do them, but we also like had access to and sold and did all the stuff. So as we started growing up and graduated high school, it all kind of continued, and then slowly friends from that circle would move, right? And it was kind of like a passing of the baton. So like when one friend left, like whoever was next up in line kind of just took over. And so eventually it's like 4 friends had all moved to Phoenix, and kind of left me with they didn't leave me with but I decided to kind of take over that.
Tim was on The Godfather.
Yeah. And so I got pretty heavy into drugs. I was selling and doing a lot of it, probably for a solid like year and a half. And I was working construction up there, so there was no, I could fucking party all night and then like go swing a hammer, and that was fine. But I had 4 friends in Phoenix that they actually called me up. It was during the winter, and they're like, "Hey man, like we're going on a week-long like snowboarding trip. We're gonna hit all the big mountains, Vail, Aspen, like Telluride. You should come with us. It'll be a boys' trip. Like we'll have a fucking blast, right?" And I'm like,
Nice.
"Yeah, dude, like let's fucking do this." So the whole week, like we were having like so much fun, partying and drinking and like, and also skiing and snowboarding, obviously. But the entire trip, like all the boys were like, "Hey man, like what are you doing in Durango still? Like you should just come down and like move down to Phoenix. And like just get the fuck out of there, And I was like, I don't know, like it's fine. I don't really have any like aspirations to leave. But like I'm jokingly, as we like the week progressed, I'm like, yeah, like yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. And so the trip was ending. It was our last day. We're driving home, and they had picked me up from Durango, and there's Highway 90 and Highway 40, right, coming down out of Colorado, and we reached like the literal fork in the road, not the proverbial one, where 90 would take me back to Durango, and then 40 continued on into Arizona, and they stayed on Arizona or Highway 40. And I'm like, you guys, like you're supposed to drop me back in Durango. And so that's where they actually came out with it. And they said that they planned this trip to get me out of Durango, because they noticed like they knew what I was into and kind of like how serious the situation was. And serious could be interpreted as, definitely a drug addict, or on the other side of serious is getting caught, getting busted, getting sent to jail for 20 years. And so they knew all this stuff was going on, and set this trip up, and they had already known that they were going to bring me back to Phoenix. 2 of them were brothers. Their dad owned a development company, the one that I worked for. They had already talked to their dad, got a job set up for me as the superintendent. And yeah, they were pretty much like, we already have a job for you, so that's not a problem. You can crash on our couch until you get, sorted out.
Wow.
So I came down, I was down here for 3 months. Everything was back up in Colorado, my truck, like all that stuff. And so those 3 months came up, and I hitched a ride up and loaded all my stuff up and drove back down, and been here since.
Dude, so that transformed your life, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I still like think about that to this day, like how fortunate I am to have those guys, and that they would take that step and have, you know, that compassion to be like, hey man, like you're fucking up right now. But I didn't know it. Like I was just like so fucking gone. Like I couldn't tell. So it took them to give me a good slap and say, hey dude, like get your shit together. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Got goosebumps through that. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's struggle number. Let's say that's struggle number one.
For sure. Yeah, because that kind of set the stage for everything else. So.
Yeah.
And out of that, so I just want to like, out of that struggle, what did you get out of that?
The Phoenix, getting to Phoenix was a very big wake-up call. Like I said, like I didn't know how gone I was, and to be able to have a group of guys just like kind of like set me straight, and like, and these are guys like we've all done really like, well, not bad, like we've, you know, like these weren't like fucking churchgoers, like, you know,
right.
For them to tell me that I was fucking up, like that really resonated with me, and I was like, oh shit, like okay, like you guys are telling me that, you know, like you're the ones that we fucking would go all out brawls with, like you're telling me I'm fucking up, like I need to take it seriously, you know. And yeah, so I think that was really it. Like it was I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. You know, what am I going to do for a career? Am I going to work construction the rest of my life? Like, do I fucking want to get married? Like, do, you know, like do it, like, I need a life partner, you know, do I want kid? Like it, like all this stuff like came out, and it was like, okay, like in order to do all of these things, I need to like find a track and stay on it.
Right. And from just knowing you, like, and learning about this story, it gives me a really good understanding of why you value your friends or your close ones, like input for things, you know, like now I see it. I'm like, okay, that's where this comes from. You really value that a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I was like, just thinking about as you were saying it, and like, it now really just shines a light on that whole situation. You know, I think from that situation, it really holds true to your heart. So.
Yeah. I've never put that together, but yeah, that is
right.
Yeah. Totally.
That's crazy.
Totally.
So one of the things that we got through the struggle, but one of the things that I always like to talk about is what advice would you give to your younger self if you were able to do so?
Yeah. I don't want to like wax poetic, right? Like there's probably going to be 3 cliches that come out of this, but they're all so very true. And like one, like, okay, so here's the thing. Struggles are monumental in the moment, in that period of life, right? Like you're hyper focused on what's happening at that time. And what I've realized is for every struggle that I've been through, that's all I could look past. There was nothing else that mattered. It was only like how terrible this thing that's happening to me is. And somewhere along the way, I started realizing like, okay, one, it's good to kind of reframe your mindset and remember that our struggles they pale in comparison to so many other people in the world. Like, you know,
for sure.
Like amputees or people with mental illness, or even like everything that's going on with racial injustice and like there's so many other things like world hunger, and like there are people that are going through unheard of things that I have not experienced. So for me to get hung up on, and this sounds like, I don't know, like it sounds kind of shitty, but like just fucking, I've always told myself like just get through this. Like be thankful that you're able and capable to figure this out, and it'll get better down the road. Like we just need to get through this, right? So I guess that would be one thing, is just know that things will get better. And by kind of reframing your perspective and like just, identifying that this struggle is just a moment in your life and it'll pass. Either it'll turn out good or it will turn out bad, but either way, you're going to learn from it. You'll become stronger from it. And like, that's the thing. Like I'm looking back, I'm so much more better equipped to handle my 25-year-old self than I was
right.
then, right? So like, and that, that comes with age and maturity and experience. And but and we heard it all our lives, is our parents like, oh, it'll work out, or like, all the adage of, life's going to get better. And you don't know that until you actually experience it. Someone can tell you how to do something. You're not going to know how to do it until you fuck it up first. Right.
Right.
So I think, just kind of remember that, like, that there's a lot of other people that are much worse off, and we should be thankful for what we have today. So just kind of thinking about, like we talked about, like I do feel very fortunate with that. The struggles I've gone through in life, I've had people there to help me through them, and I've been able to, get through them like somewhat unscathed. But there is just like so much going on in the world right now that it definitely just has me thinking a lot. And I guess like the best way to say it is that like I don't know if I've experienced my biggest struggle yet. Like I think that's still to come. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's not, not being dramatic, but I think that there are some things that me personally and the world has yet to kind of like come to terms with. And so I think I'm still waiting for that big one, but
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and I think that's kind of where like all this, I mean, I've had this idea for a while now to get this started, but I've kind of put it off for quite a bit. And then once like the pandemic shit happened, that was like really lit the fire beneath my ass to like get it going, because I figured like we're all kind of like in the same boat in a way with dealing with that kind of shit right now. So create a platform for people to either watch or listen and hear other people's stories and just kind of get inspired and have that like thing of hope a little bit, or just kind of know like, I'm not in this alone. Like there's, when you listen to other people's stories, you really get to put those pieces together and connect them and be like, yeah, we're all kind of really connected or related in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate that you're doing this too. I think, to your point, people need to hear that other people, like we're all people. We all have problems. Like we're all fucked up and we all need help, and no one's perfect. And, like it's just good to know that there are other people that are going through the same stuff, it's just, because this day and age, just, what we have to compare ourselves to is, the perfect Instagram lives and, all this stuff. And it's like, no, let's just be real people,
Right.
Let's talk.
Exactly. But we still need to be great, not good.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tim, that you want to jump on before we close it out?
No, I don't think so.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if anyone wants to see your work, reach out to you, where can they do that at?
Yeah. You can go to greatnotgood.co on Instagram. That's my handle for everything, website as well. But yeah, IG is definitely the most current, and I don't post every day, but I'll post when I post, and hopefully people will like it. But yeah, and then also, like, if you're in Phoenix, there's quite a few restaurants and walls and bars that have mural work or sign painting work. And there's also, there's a list of cities, other cities in the country also, provided that these restaurants get to open up again and stay in business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so
do you have a list on your website of all the places that you've done sign painting at?
No.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. It would be like super dope to do like a fucking pin map,
Right. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe let's chat offline. We'll get that.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, and it's really cool if you guys follow Tim's stuff. He shows a lot of behind the scenes and his process, and I think that's a really important part to see, and just get an inside look on that. Not everyone shows a process; they just show the final completed work. So you really get an inside look of what Tim's doing. So check it out for sure. So yeah, dude, thanks a lot, man. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for the goosebumps and great story. So.
Hell yeah, man. It was really good seeing you, and thanks for having me.
Definitely.